Good morning, Romeo Santiago here once again. So, in 2023, I decided, as the owner of my practice, to explore transitioning and getting trained in a different type of therapy. So, if you're familiar with EMDR, aka eye movement desensitization reprocessing, EMDR has been around since the 80s. It started as a trauma therapy specifically for, and a lot of research in the early days for Vietnam vets and sexual assault survivors. So, this was a wonderful, amazing therapy that utilized, at the time, the idea was utilizing what we call bilateral stimulation, or just stimulating alternate parts of the brain. Um, by utilizing either taps on alternate sides, sounds on alternate sides, eye movements that go from one side all the way to the next, right? So most of the research is on eye movements. Um, then the second most researched is tapping or tactiles, and the third most researched is sounds. So what we know about EMDR is that it is a wonderful, amazing tool that helps the client to navigate through very specific neural networks or memory clusters. So, how I explain it to most of my clients is mom called me a twat when I was 6. From that memory, there's this belief attached to it that becomes a core belief that says I'm unworthy or I'm not lovable, right? And then everything that happens after the age of 6 that our brain kind of stores in this same area reinforces this particular memory. So being fired from jobs, being, I don't know, broken up in relationships, different friendships and platonic relationships ending, all of those reinforce this memory and then give strength to this belief. EMDR goes in and says, as the therapist, you don't need to tell me anything. We're gonna first identify the memory cluster, all the memories associated with this, and then we're going to dive directly into these memories by utilizing bilateral stimulation. What happens is that the brain will start at this particular memory and it'll take us down this very specific pathway. Oftentimes, when a significant event happens, the brain doesn't have time to process and store this particular memory. So what it does is like, all right, I have to focus on just staying alive or just getting out of this situation. So I'm crumbling this memory up and I'm throwing it in the corner until this shit is over with so that we can then revisit it. Well, what happens when the brain is ready to revisit it? We're not. Have you ever had an experience where you're like going about your day and then this particular memory begins to surface and you're like, I can't deal with this shit. Keep that shit in the corner. I can't deal with it. Keep it in the corner. I can't deal with it. Keep it in the corner. Or we just get sucked so far into the memory that it's almost as like we're reliving it. EMDR is an amazing therapy because it keeps one foot in the past and one foot in the future. Or I'm sorry, one foot in the past and one foot in the present. So in the session, you are grounded in the current moment, but we're watching the memory kind of like we're watching a movie, right? Have you ever watched a movie and then just got teary eyed during Bambi's mom getting shot? Or, I don't know, Dumbo receiving all of that love, or the Lion King holding up his new cub, right? Those movies trigger emotions, and that's kind of what this process is. The difference is, and what I tell my clients is, you're the one in the movie theater. I'm at the concession stand checking in on you every so often. Hey, here's the remote. Do you need some more popcorn? Do you need some more beverages? Do you need a box of tissue? I'm just checking in. I'm never going to have access to those memories. I am never going to know what's coming up unless you want to share that with me or unless it's something that you deem as necessary. Now, there's some pre-work that goes into it in terms of getting prepared and ready, which is why when we talk about EMDR, there's 8 phases, right? Phase 1 is just identifying that memory cluster. Phase 2 is installing some of that safety and security, and it's meeting some of those protectors, meeting some of those parts of yourself that do not want this particular information to come up because this information is dangerous. So we, as a team, build a relationship with those parts of yourself so that you are better able to access it. With CBT, my clients can get emotional, and then what I do is I step in and I'm like, hey, I'm noticing these things are happening. How about we take a breath? How about we do this? How about we do this? With EMDR, we need to be in a certain level of discomfort. Um, but you also have most of the power. You have pretty much all of the power because unless you tell me you need to pause or you need to stop or we need to talk about this particular memory, we keep going. The difference between cognitive behavioral therapy and some other modalities is we're dancing around those particular memories. With EMDR, we go straight through, and your brain then begins making all of these connections. There's a lot, some of my clients experience a lot of insight and connecting certain events, certain situations. Some of my clients realize that there's a lot of overlap with some of the experiences they've had in the past versus the experience that they're currently engaging in. So everybody experiences EMDR slightly different, but at the end of the day, what we do know about EMDR is, unlike a lot of the other modalities, EMDR, there's a lot more progress that can happen in a shorter period of time. Now, this is a really challenging therapy for clients and therapists, um, and a lot of folks are unfamiliar with what EMDR is. So, before engaging in EMDR with just anybody who says that they're an EMDR therapist, something to note is one, in order to become an EMDR certified therapist, it's more than a weekend course. We have we have to do a weekend course. We have to go through quite a few hours of consultation. We have to take more advanced trainings. Um, so those are EMDR certified therapists. EMDR trained therapists are the therapists that have taken that weekend course. Trust me when I say it is a long fucking course. Um, and it's very intensive. So in that weekend, it's just the basics. And then what we do after that is we decide, do we want to engage in EMDR with our clients with the limited information that we have in some of the less complex cases, or do we want to continue to pursue some additional trainings and some additional education so that we can build our toolbox? As the client, you cannot do EMDR wrong. It's the therapist that walks you through what EMDR is and how to make sure you're getting the most out of it. So I know this particular video is a lot longer than any of the other videos, but I thought it would be super important for folks to get a better understanding of what EMDR is, um, and how long it's actually been around. It is an amazing, wonderful tool that I currently am transitioning pretty much 80% of my clients to EMDR because, again, the crux of Romeo sensation is get you in therapy and get you the fuck out. So I want to transition my clients out of therapy as soon as possible with the understanding that they have not just met their goals, but they've also obtained a quality of life that they are happy with. So, my recommendation for anybody who has experienced adverse experiences, anybody who has had minority stress, anybody who has had complex traumas, to maybe explore a little bit more about EMDR and how it may benefit you. I'm a huge advocate, not just as a clinician, but as an EMDR client. Um, I've I've been in EMDR therapy in the past before grad school, and I'm currently, as of the December of 2023, I'm currently an EMDR client. Side note, I think every fucking therapist should have a therapist. Um, yeah, but that's just, I'll get off that soapbox. But EMDR is an amazing therapy. So do your own research. Do not take my advice um, blindly. Do not follow me blindly. Do your own research and experience um, maybe some additional. If you are interested in learning more about EMDR, uh, you can always Google EMDRIA, EMDRIA, which is the International Association of EMDR Therapists, and they have a ton of research. There's also Francine Shapiro's library. You can Google that, and that's got a. If you're a geeky, nerdy individual like me, that's got probably a good 80 to 99% of the research that is in existence that I'm aware of surrounding EMDR in various different populations. So whether that's personality disorders, mood disorders, psychotic disorders, trauma-related disorders, you name it, chances are there is research behind treating pretty much any mental health diagnosis with EMDR, at least from my perspective, from my understanding. So those are two amazing resources, and I'm gonna put the link to both of those down below. So hopefully you enjoyed this particular video. Let me know what some of your thoughts are about that. And with all that being said, I hope you all have a wonderful, amazing rest of this beautiful day. I will see you soon.